We don't know the hour or the day. Time is such a gift, try and control your destiny. We don't know the hour or the day. Unity is strength, let's stand as one without delay. Cause no bad vibe, me a chant. Me no want no bad vibe, me a chant. I just peace the times all around, yeah. No bad vibe, me a chant. No bad vibe, me a chant. Say me no want no bad vibe, me a chant. I just peace the time all around, yeah. No bad vibe, me a chant.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. How you guys doing today? My name is the AVM Superhero, also known as Greg Graham. And I want to thank you guys for joining us for another episode of Death Taught Us How to Live. On this show, we get people that had near-death experiences come on the show and explain to us what actually happened to them within their life and also how their life has changed from that actual incident. And today is no different. Even though this person has not had a near-death experience, she is very near and dear to someone that had one. And they made up a nonprofit organization called The Same You, something that I am very proud to be part of as an advocate for that particular organization. Without any further ado, let me bring onto the stage my guest, the co-founder and CEO, and also the MBE Award recipient, Miss Jenny Clarke. Miss Clarke, how are you doing today?
Greg, I'm doing great. It's a real privilege to be on your show. Thank you so much for asking me.
No problem. It's an honor to have you on the show. And when I first met you guys through the Same You organization, I was kind of leery of it because, I wasn't sure if you guys were really for the cause or not. And then when I started hearing the stories and who you guys were, it made me a believer, especially when you guys dealt with the mental illness part about it and how to recover from that. That something that really touched home for me because as a stroke survivor, I didn't understand how to get over that hump. And once I did, it was a relief. So knowing that you guys was dealing with that made me feel comfortable to joining you guys.
That's wonderful. And really, just want to say it's nothing to do with celebrity. It's all about trying to make a bigger impact than already exists.
Exactly. And that's the other reason why I dealt with you guys, because it's not about the celebrity part, but it's about, everybody has a role to play. And there was something that you said in your video when you received the MBE. You said, I know people have been doing this a long time, but we're just doing our part. We're trying to raise the awareness of this. Now, what do you mean by that? It's not about the celebrity part. It's not because people probably not even know who you are, why we even have you on this particular show. Can you tell us who you are, what the Same You organization is, and what happened in your life to make this happen?
Yeah, well, you haven't mentioned my other title, and that's Grandmother of Dragons. And not everybody calls me that, but they do sometimes because my daughter is the actor Ackemia Clarke, and she was Khaleesi, and she has survived 2 brain hemorrhages. And so we started the charity because we were so grateful, thankful, and we realized how incredibly unusual we are that she survived twice, near death. Once particularly, I actually believe maybe she had passed, and she has come back to us, and she actually has no physical issues. But any of you listening to this who have experienced brain injury in their lives or in their families' lives, their loved ones, you know that you're always different. You always have the impact of what's happened to you and the catastrophe that's what's happened. And so we called our charity Same You because whatever you look like, you feel the same inside. Whatever your disabilities that you're overcoming, you are the same person. And the stigma around brain injury is just incredibly bad, and it's incredibly hard to shift. So by Amelia telling her story, we think that she really unleashed something, not everything by any means, but she did unleash the voices of people who had actually felt ashamed. That's the word they say. People say they feel ashamed to admit they've had a brain injury, which is nonsense, isn't it? But it's is a really true and painful fact. So that's really the start of it.
Yeah, and that's what I really commend your daughter Amelia for actually doing, actually bringing it to the forefront and not being embarrassed by what actually happened to her. Because for me, myself, I was in a place of denial. I felt like I was inadequate as a man.
You
I
bet.
didn't think I could take care of my children anymore. I couldn't be a father. I couldn't be a husband. All these things went through my head. So if a person that is a celebrity comes out and says, you know, this happened to me, it is okay, you know, I'm going to move forward, I want you guys to move forward as well too, that is phenomenal. I commend her for that, and I really thank her for that. But let's go into a little bit more about the Same You organization. When you guys created this, what was your idea of what you needed to
Yeah.
do to help us out in this community?
So when we realized that we had to do something, we looked at the whole end-to-end process, the prevention, which is really difficult, apart from keeping yourself healthy and having MRIs, but who can afford to have MRIs to know if you've got anything wrong in your brain? But if you have a road traffic accident, there's nothing to help you prevent that. Then you look at the acute stage, and I think certainly in the US and the UK and many European countries, that is dealt with adequately, and in some places brilliantly. And so many lives are saved, like my daughter's. So the next part of the health, everyone's health journey in their lives, we like to call recovery. So prevention, acute recovery. Most often it's called rehabilitation, which we think also is, words are very powerful. And I think when you use words that don't sit well and then don't resonate and don't tell the real truth to different audiences, that's really difficult. So obviously therapists who are rehabilitation experts, they sort of don't see anything wrong in calling it rehabilitation. But the way we see it, because we represent the voices of patients, survivors, and their loved ones, we see it differently. And so what we want to do is to try and hopefully change the language in some way, hopefully make sure that people understand that you need rehabilitation to recover. But vitally important, it's to show that with the right level of help in terms of therapy, and quick therapy as soon as you can, and holistic therapy, then people can regain an awful lot of their identity, their energy, and their lives. So we figured that the gap was biggest in rehabilitation, because obviously we're not clinical, and obviously we're not charity people. So I've been learning it the hard way by doing it, running it, setting it up, and seeing how to do a charity or a not-for-profit that is different, that is a digital not-for-profit organization, because we want to keep the overheads as low as possible. And we need to do that because when people do donate to us, it's very important that the real majority of the money goes to the various causes that we are supporting in terms of partnerships with major healthcare deliverers. Because again, we don't deliver very much. We have a wonderful website. I have a very, very small team of 3 people, 2 of whom do our social media, our website, our digital marketing, and they both do it wonderfully. One of those, who's based in New Zealand, Vero, she also has gone through a brain injury. So the other person that does our marketing, she has family members who's had a stroke. So we really are the nucleus of really understanding what it means to have had a brain injury and the nuances that you need to take to be able to make sure that you treat people with respect and you treat people quickly and you get action, because that's also such a problem in many areas.
Yeah, I think that's a major misconception of when a person has that brain injury. If you can't see it, then a person is healed. And there's so much underlying issues that a person will have after they have a brain injury. Once they get out the hospital, it's not over. that recovery is basically just starting. And this talks about anybody that has a stroke, a TBI, or a brain cancer, or anything like that. A lot of the psychological problems happen after they find out this is what happened to them.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
do you agree with that?
I do agree with that. In fact, the example, and Amelia's talked about it in public, so she won't mind me repeating it. As soon as she left hospital the first time, she found a reason to go straight back into another hospital, our local A&E, because she had her hand was swelling up because of the pressure of the intravenous drip that they gave her, and she was just really quite frightened, and we were all quite frightened. We didn't know how to treat her. We didn't know what to do. And as a family, it's such a shock. Everything's a shock. And then when you get your loved one home, how do you look after them? Do you treat them, wrap them in a blanket and cotton wool? Do you say, you're okay now? Or how do you empathize with them? How do you use your empathy to the best effect? Because all of the multiple invisible symptoms and the consequences of brain injury, they're invisible. So how do you actually understand if you don't listen and really understand the right way to listen and to take some action?
That is very key, and I'm glad you brought that up, because there's a lot of people that want to give you sympathy, but they don't know how to. And I think you just said it clear as day. Just listen and listen to what they actually need, and not take advantage of them. And I think that's what a lot of people do. They think that they're an old person, or they think they are faking it. Things are happening to them. They don't even understand why it's happening to them. So you just need to be patient and listen to them. Is there any other advice that you would give someone like that when they first bring in their loved one home from a hospital?
I think that fatigue is such a common problem. There's almost no one who've written to us, and we've had tens of thousands of detailed letters and stories, and we have 50,000 people on our database. So all of the people say fatigue, either short-term fatigue or sadly long-term fatigue, is one of the biggest problems, because people just don't understand it. So when you're battling through it and you just can't go on, you do really want some understanding from your friends, your family, and definitely from your work colleagues. So the whole concept of the invisibility of your problems, the mental health issues, the therapists don't call them necessarily mental health issues. It's about emotional issues, but the emotional issues of fear, anxiety, depression, the sense that at any minute you might actually die. These things are completely real and sometimes ever present.
Jenny, you're saying all these things that actually happened to me. I didn't even realize all these things was happening to me. I didn't even realize I had anxiety. And you might have mentioned this earlier in some of your other interviews, but I'm very curious on your stance on this. I know for me, I didn't get a lot of what I should have got, maybe because I didn't have enough money financially to actually take care of it. There wasn't a true protocol for it. I heard you guys say that there's a gap, and you wanted to make sure that people, and please correct me if I'm wrong. There's a gap that people don't really understand what it takes to take care of a person that has a brain injury and what is available to them. Is that something like the same you organizations want to make sure that people understand what is available to them and make sure that they get the proper treatments that they're supposed to get? Am I leading into something more? Is that true?
That's our big vision. It's obviously rather presumptuous and ambitious, given that we're a very small not-for-profit. But everywhere we go, our stance is, how do we see opportunities to communicate that? What materials can we provide? How do we then spread those materials? Because we have got a tremendously good amount of resources, online resources on sameU.org, that Victoria and Vera have put together with the help of many volunteers who are wonderful working with us, as well as tremendously helpful therapists and doctors and people who have gone through brain injury and want to share their stories. So what we're doing is we're building a database, we're building a repository, a window on what is available. And so that's something that's really, really important, that in a way that we can help people. But we need more people to come to sameyou.org. We need more people to follow and see the tips, the advice, the holistic ideas that can be given, obviously totally free of charge, to make a difference. So that would be wonderful if people listening could go to our site, follow us on social media, and then spread the word with their communities in their own networks. That would be amazing.
Speaking of your site, let's talk about your site. Let's bring it up on their screen so they can see what it looks like and how they could get involved. Are you okay with that?
You bet.
All right, let's get it. Give me 1 second so I can actually bring it onto the screen. Okay, here we go. As you can see on the screen here, we have the Same You organization website. Jenny, do you want to walk us through it, or you just want me to navigate through this?
Well, there's a lot on it. And what we're trying to do at the moment is trying to make it a little bit more accessible than it is. Because if you go to all the drop-down menus at the top, you'll see all the different things that we've done. And so we're trying to show what we've done, what is Amelia's story, what partners we work with, who we work with, and give credit to our ambassadors and our advocates. And then the work that we're doing with the World Health Organization, because Same You is a founder member of something that you may not have heard of. It's called the World Rehabilitation Alliance, and that was started last year. And the WRA is a worldwide movement to try and get more people, health ministers, governments, and health systems around the world, particularly in developing countries, to make sure that there's enough access to funding and resources to provide rehabilitation. And actually, interestingly, the way they are looking at it is in a number of areas. And I'm very fortunate. We're a founder member as a not-for-profit, but I'm also involved on a pro bono basis with them on their external relations stream. So I'm able to understand what they're doing because it's change. And I think, the understanding that the whole world needs, to understand the needs of rehabilitation better is really important. They've identified agencies needing rehabilitation. Now, that isn't something I'd thought of. So obviously, when there is a crisis and the emergency services go in and lift the boulders and get people out if they've been trapped, for instance, when they are back, maybe they don't have a home, maybe they don't have any wherewithal. So where
You're breaking up on me. I'm not sure if our reception is going bad or not.
Oh, I'm not moving.
I'm not sure what's going on right now. Jenny, are you still there? Well, while Jenny gets herself back on, just want to let you guys know within this Same You organization. Yes, I can hear you now, but you're coming in and out. Can you guys still hear Jenny? Just give us a thumbs up inside the comments to let us know if Jenny is still there or not. I hear you, but I want to make sure the audience still hears us. So give us a comment inside of here to let us know that you can still hear Jenny. But with this site, Jenny, that I see, you're doing a lot within the community. You're doing things with the World Health Organization, as well as there's different events that you guys have. I know there was an event last November called the 6,000 Steps for mental health. You had me working with this particular project, and I was very excited to work with this. Is there any other projects like this for other survivors to get involved with so they can understand how mental health actually is very vital for brain injury recovery?
Well, we've got an Everest challenge on our website right now, where you can get involved and again do your own Everest. Position it as everybody has an Everest to climb, very high mountain, And so we're encouraging people to do what they find it hard to do, and to be able to raise funds and build a community for same you. But we're getting people saying they can't hear or see us, I think.
Can you guys hear Jenny now? Is it still a problem, or is she going through fine, guys?
Are you seeing those comments, Greg? People saying they can't hear?
Yeah, I see no. I'm not sure if that was prior or is it now. But we're going to keep on going.
Shall I just keep going?
Yes, please.
Okay, we're going to keep on going. Yeah, okay.
Please.
So, yes, so we have on our website now, and all the time through our social media, the team are putting together challenges where people can get involved. And there is a lot of other things to raise significant funds to not just raise awareness, but to take action. Because Amelia and I started the charity to say we just want to, it is important that we do something, not just talk about doing something. And so this is wonderful, and all of them, the press mentions, all the TV, all of the PR, all the social around the world, has shown that there is a need for more rehab, as exemplified by Amelia and what she says and how she tells her story. And I think maybe people are understanding a bit more the mental health issues. So I think that that's great. We're very glad we're doing that. But we also have some projects, very, very significant projects that we funded by finding seed funding to do them. And I'd like to clear up a problem that some people have, or a misconception, not a problem, is people think that is perhaps much richer than she is, and people think that we're a family charity, a foundation giving out money without other support. And so that's true at the start. Amelia did start the charity. She did fund the charity significantly. And then she did some crazy things online, and we raised a lot of money. And what we then did with the money is to fund a US program with Spalding Rehab Hospital in Boston to look with young investigators on the impact of brain injury in young adults. And so because of Amelia's profile, we're particularly keen to make sure that people realize that brain injury doesn't just happen to older people, that strokes don't just happen to older people, it happens to anyone. And in fact, brain injury can happen to anyone. So when you actually stop and think about that fact, it's really extraordinary that there isn't enough being done to take care of the people who have survived and need to get their lives back together after a brain injury. But what we've been doing is to fund research. We fund research and nurses training, and we funded a really major digital one-to-many therapy program. And then we've got big projects in the works that I can tell you about later.
So Jenny, I want to touch on something that you said that it might be a major misconception that people believe because a person is a celebrity, they have infinite amount of money. So when they start up a charge, everybody should be taken care of because they are financially sound. This is not a charity that you just want to deal with 10 or 20 people. This is a worldwide charity. I don't really know any actors or actresses that have enough money to feed the whole entire world. So we have to take that out of the account. I think the biggest misconception that is people are famous, they're celebrity, they have money to give to whatever these particular donations or foundations are. We need you. We need you to be the same you, to actually advocate for yourselves, advocate for changes, and also to donate for changes, because this is not about the celebrityhood. This is about people with brain injury. And there are so many people that have brain injury that people neglect them. So in order for this to actually move forward, we need you to come out of your shells and help out, because you might not think it could happen to you. But I think the statistic of a brain injury is 1 in 3 people might have one. Is that correct?
Correct. At some point in their lives, anything from concussion all the way through. Yeah.
So you might not think this is for you, but in essence, it actually is. And what the Clarks are actually doing is bringing this to the forefront. I know me and you had a pre-interview process, and you was telling me something that I didn't really even understood, but you brought it to my attention. You said your mother's mothers, around the time they was growing up, cancer was the forbidden word, and now everybody knows about cancer. I think now a lot of people don't really understand the word of brain injury, about strokes, about TBIs, and it's just pushed to the side. And but now we've seen that younger and younger people are having it. And now Amelia was so brave enough as a young brain injury survivor to actually go on record to say that she is a survivor and bringing awareness to this. Now people starting to say, wow, this is not for a 70 or 80-year-old people. This could be for a adolescent, for a child. So to piggyback what you were saying, Jenny, I really appreciate what you guys are doing with this particular foundation. Please talk to us about this more and the different things that you guys have going on with us.
Well, I'd like to pick up on something you said, Greg, that was impacted you when you said you had it was very hard to receive therapy and rehab services after your catastrophe. And it doesn't matter how much money you've got. It really doesn't matter. If you've got no money, it is a terrible crisis. And what we're doing at the moment is trying to work with an organization that's mainly in the UK, but in many, many other countries in the world. And that's called The Big Issue. And The Big Issue is an organization with many different components. And what they're most known for is to help people out of poverty. And they do that with homeless people. And we know that 40% of people who are homeless may have a brain injury. And that's one of the contributing factors, that they might have lost their livelihoods, their jobs, and they have ended up with no home at all. So we feel a great affinity with The Big Issue and their cause, because at the end of the day, the problems that humans have, they're all the same problems. And the discrimination that everyone suffers when you haven't got enough money to eat, you haven't got enough money to put a roof over your head, is something that we're not trying to tackle. Such a closeness between that and people with brain injury. And so when what we're doing with The Big Issue is we're raising funds, and we're trying to get big corporate donations to add to The Big Issue Recruits workforce. They have job coaches that help people get jobs after they've had a life catastrophe. And because there's so many people with injury, we feel it's being fit. And so we're having trained therapists, if we can find the money, to work with The Big Issue and help people back into work. And the program that we're trying to raise funds for, we're hoping will help about 100 people a year at the starting point. So that's really, really important. So people who don't have money still don't have access, but when you even have some money, the services just aren't there. And if they are there, they're not fully rounded. Because as we all know, there's so many complexities to having a brain injury. It might affect your speech and balance, your cognitive functions, so many of those, your speech and language, whatever it might be, let alone all the multiple mental health. And there just isn't enough therapists to see enough to make the difference.
I am
So
very
productivity of the.
I'm sorry you went out again,
Sorry,
Jenny,
Greg.
but once you come back in, I'll bring you back. But I'm very thankful that you actually are doing this, you and your organization doing this, because that is the hardest thing for me and most people that I speak to in the brain injury society, is that trying to find work, trying to find resources to help us out with things. I don't really like to bring this up, but it's relevant to me. I went through a divorce, and when I went through my divorce, I had no help. Nobody gave me a pro bono lawyer to help me out with these things. I was told I need to get life insurance. I'm like, how am I going to get life insurance to take care of my children? It was so many things that was out there that I didn't know that was available to me. So by you guys actually saying, hey, we're trying to help people to get back to work. We're trying to help people to get back into their lives, help out homeless people that have brain injury. You guys don't have to do this. And by you guys using who you are as your celebrity mantra or your celebrity status to help us out in the brain injury survivor community, I really appreciate you two, because this is something that we really need. And I really love you guys for this. I used to tell my mom every time I see a new stroke survivor, brain injury survivor, that's my new brother and sister. And I'm like, wow, I have a brother, I got a sister that was on one of the popular shows on the face of the earth. But then to find out that she is very adamant to helping out everybody that had a brain injury. Why did you guys really go to that level to help us out so much?
Well, first reply is why not? When people say, why do you do this? The answer is why not? It needs to be done. But I think a more considered answer is, my feeling is that anybody has a brain injury in their family and they understand the enormity of it, even if others don't. They want to do something. They want to help. We have so many people saying that they are starting small charities, one-off charities. They're trying to do whatever they can, because the level of frustration in the community of people saying, what on earth can I do to get help for my loved one? Or what can I do to get help for me? And so I think that everyone would love to do it, but not everyone has a platform. And if one good thing has happened out of Amelia having these 2 brain hemorrhage strokes when she was filming Game of Thrones, it means that we can ask people about what happened to them, ask people what they need, and then do our level best to try and represent them in every way we can. So that might be advocacy with health systems, advocacy with people in power who run them, advocacy and action, working with corporates, working with big neuro-rehabilitation hospitals, neurosurgeons, and definitely the mental health world. So that's it. We just think that we are sort of here and we can. So it's pretty hard, because it is actually very hard raising money. And frankly, it's not my deal. I just want to work with the clinicians and work with people who really want to make change. Because I found that there's people in life, there's people who say, okay, something tells me, I'm going to just accept it because others tell me that I'm not going to get better. And then there's others who say, I'm not going to take that, I'm going to do something about it. And if they can summon up the energy and the energy of their family and friends, lift them up to be able, through all the dark days, to keep going. Because the sad fact about neuro-rehabilitation, it's a long process. So that's about it.
Jenny, I thank you guys so much for that. But there is something that I know that made me happy to find out that I wasn't alone. Once I found out that there was other people just like me, it made it so much better to go through my recovery. I think there was like different phases of my recovery, coming out of the hospital, being depressed, those very, very dark days. And then all of a sudden finding other people that understood me. And then there was a particular time that Amelia came out. And when she came out, like you said, your website crashed because she gave her story and everybody wanted to hear it and they couldn't believe it. The mother of dragons, this has happened to her. This can't be real. And they've realized that this is real and they shouldn't be ashamed of it. I know that you have something on the back burner that we have here that we want to actually show the people how just saying your story and allowing yourself to be free helps you out to be a better person. Do you want to set this video that I have for us that these people would like to see?
I'd love to. So just try and take on that whole concept and move it forward. We had, the website did crash. And they said, whatever you do, don't let the website crash. And it did, because the absolute amount of people trying to contact her, because she said, I told you my story, now you tell me yours. And that's something which is sort of at the heart of the charity today. We have so many thousands of people who've written to us and keep on writing to us. And we love to hear all of them. It's a little bit tricky because we've only got volunteers to answer, so we've got a bit of a backlog. But the idea was, how can we best represent everybody? And so just as Greg has said, the sense of not feeling alone is in itself a massive therapeutic lift. And by telling your story, admitting it, coming out with it, really discussing it in public. So we did a call out, and we asked people on social media, would they tell us their stories in a short burst, as opposed to long letters and emails that we get. So we went out and we requested people to tell us what it feels like to live with a brain injury. And we had a wonderful pro bono animator, fabulous filmmaker, put it together for us. And so what you're about to see now are a wide variety of people in all sorts of recovery states, really reminiscing or talking about what they're currently going through in terms of the consequences of their brain injury. And you might note that Amelia might come in a bit as well.
I was 29.
I was 14 years old.
I was 44.
I was 28 years old.
I was 31 years old when I had a massive stroke.
Intracerebral brain hemorrhage.
A traumatic brain injury.
Brain cancer.
AVM rupture.
Concussion.
Syphilitis.
Series of strokes.
Still to this day, 4.5 years later, I have zero short-term memory. I can't even remember breakfast this morning.
I simply could not think or comprehend anything properly.
I am in a wheelchair.
Chronic nerve pain.
Extreme fatigue.
Relearn how to do simple tasks.
Learn how to walk.
I have epilepsy.
Aphasia.
Comorbid PTSD.
Depression.
I couldn't function. It felt like who I was had been stolen.
There wasn't any help after the stroke. I had to learn everything myself.
I had to relearn things that I don't even remember learning the first time round, like my walking.
It felt as if I had been left floating in the middle of the sea with no land in sight. I had little guidance as to what therapies to pursue and where I could go to receive them.
Access to therapies has been the biggest hurdle and the biggest challenge to have to overcome.
It was hard for me to find a physical therapist specialized in the treatment of brain injuries.
But something that was very much missing was any kind of mental or emotional therapy or support.
I felt ashamed. I had to hide my recovery. I would go to a 24-hour gym in the middle of the night with my cane, just to work on my therapy so nobody would see me.
I had to leave my job. I was, burning through the money I had saved.
I consequently lost my career and became homeless at age 45.
I felt very alone.
I told my partner that I had no intention of living if I didn't improve.
I was hopeless and disappointed. I just wanted to die. I didn't want this life.
The road to recovery is a very long process.
And it was sheer determination to survive and then to thrive, not just exist.
Your post-injury life is one so worth living.
It takes patience. And it's painful. But that doesn't mean impossible.
Allow yourself to feel all the emotions and the distress. You have to share it.
And having other people relate to your story and just getting it is sometimes all you need to get yourself through a rough brain day.
And we help each other. We give each other advice. We support each other. And we feel less alone.
The community deserves and needs more visibility,
financial support, and more research in the field of rehabilitation.
More advocates and more educators.
More therapists who can be there to talk.
We all need more support.
We have dreams and hopes just like anyone else.
Even though there's a great deal of grief for the life before brain injury that has been lost,
The thing that makes you you is still in there. It's still precious.
Brain injury doesn't only happen to the brain, it happens to the whole person, body, brain, and mind. Healing can only begin when all these pieces come together through personalised, holistic care. By growing our global community of support and collaborating with world-class specialists to create innovative therapies, Same You is determined to make crucial treatments accessible to every survivor. But we can't do it alone. We need you, our survivors, carers, providers, and allies, to join Same You in the recovery revolution. Together, we can transform the lives of the 1 in 3 people who will develop a brain injury in their lifetime.
This is exactly what I'm talking about. I definitely felt it when there was a young gentleman that said, "Hey, I had to learn how to walk again, do something for like the first time. I didn't even remember how to do it when I first initially had to learn how to walk." I felt the same exact way. I felt like I was in the ocean and nobody understood me. I could be surrounded by my friends and loved ones, but they didn't understand what I was going through. And that was a very difficult time in my life. But once I found people, organizations, I have known many organizations. I know one in the United States called TAF. They helped me out. Another one called the Paige Keeley Foundation. Then I also found you guys, the Same You Foundation organization. Once I found my people, it was like a different world happened for me. It's like it's like a fraternity of people that I never, ever, ever had before. That soon as I see them, they're instantly my friend. They're instantly my brother. They're instantly my sister. I could just imagine if I met your daughter, Amelia, there could be unspoken words that between us that nobody else would understand but people that had brain injuries. And it's like automatically healing for us. And I'm so happy that she actually did this. And you guys are actually doing this right now. This is remarkable. This is something that I've been preaching for years on Deaf Taught Us How to Live on my other platform. I want this to be in the forefront so people could really understand. It's not just that I had a stroke. It's not just because my arm doesn't move. It's my whole entire body that I'll have to refigure how to deal with. And if you take your patience and take the time with me, it can work out. Before I go a little bit further into this, Jenny, I want to let the audience know, if you do have questions, any comments, concerns that you want Jenny to answer about the Same You organization, about brain injuries, please let us know right now, because we're going to get into our hot seats questions in just a moment. So Jenny, what did that do when you guys put this particular video out there? How did it help out the community?
Well, I think it just got tremendous understanding. I think that it was most impactful for people who had survived and felt that there was something being done. So I think that it was and still remains a really important piece of communications, because there was no script. We didn't ask people to say anything in particular. We just said, what does it feel like? And so they told us that. And so I think this is a great testimony, because we're in the world of evidence-based medicine, and there isn't enough data, there isn't enough evidence across the complexities of brain injury to get financially driven health organizations to really take this seriously. So this is one of the big problems. How do we find enough data? How do we collect enough data to show the benefits of neurorehabilitation versus none? And you see, if you don't get any, and particularly if you've got mild to moderate brain injury, and they're things that you just have to live with, and you're told, well, you should be lucky to be alive, just live with them, you don't keep referring back. And that becomes, and then you become invisible, even more invisible. So I think it's very, very important for people to demand better. People must demand, if they're not getting rehab, they need to know why, and they need to keep on asking and need to be as vociferous, as loud as they possibly can.
So that's why Same You is so important, how you guys can help us out. I'm gonna bring up the site one more time to show you guys where you can actually go to help us out with bringing the message, doing service for our people that have brain injuries, and also how you can volunteer or do anything to promote brain injury awareness. So let's bring up the site one more time, and you could talk about the donation page that you guys have, as well as how they could help out. So let's get to the donation page. As you can see here, we have a donation page, and it says, well, mine is broken down into English part. I guess we were dealing with the English dollar, also the English pound as well, right?
No, when you click on it, it goes to dollars as well. So it's pounds and dollars.
Oh, okay, cool.
I can't quite see the page. I don't know if everybody's got the page up there.
Well, I got it out there, so I'll just navigate through it. So right now, you can see the different types of donations you could put in there. You say, for instance, I was putting in $20 US. You just continue putting your name, so and so on, and that's basically about it. You guys are just helping us out as brain injury people, and brain injury survivor people. You're helping us out to become back to who we were before, close enough. A lot of us don't have the opportunity nor the skills to do it. As you can see, the Clarks have the opportunity, and they're using their platform, their name, to help us become better human beings. So please, if you guys want to help out, you want to join the cause, Same You is more than happy to allow you to help us get to that particular place. And this is how you can do it. As you can see, this is the donation page. We go to sameu.org, click on the donation button, donate button, and donate what you can. I really appreciate you guys.
Community. Join the community. That's the big thing. Join us. You know, join us to make a difference. Have your voice heard. Write to us. Tell us your stories. Tell us what you think is wrong. Tell us what you think is right. And we'll do our best to best represent you in the US as well as the UK.
Well, Ms. Clarke, it's time for us to go to our hot seat questions. And I just want to make sure that I have my sponsor information on the screen that actually sponsored the hot seat questions for today. The hot seat question is based by Pressed by Ricky. You could go to her particular site is www.sds.com, shop Pressed by Ricky. And Ricky has, and I'm sorry, guys, Ricky is my daughter. She wants to make sure that she helps out other survivors to become beautiful and sexy again. So she makes personalized press-on nails. So if you want to make yourself look dolled up as a brain survivor, and you think that life is not over yet, and you still are fine, and you're a beautiful person, and you want to show it and express it, go to her site and get personalized nails. So like I said, www.sds.com/shop/press-by-Ricky1. Make sure you guys check them out and tell them AVM Superhero sent you guys. All right. Without any further ado, Jenny, are you ready for your hot seat questions?
I am. I'm all ready.
All right, here we go. Here's the first one. What advice do you have for parents of a child who had a brain hemorrhage?
Find out as much as you possibly can about the condition. Find out what the doctors, the clinicians think are the reasons that your child had a hemorrhage. Understand every single piece of advice that you get and can get from the clinicians. Go to all your local practices. Go to websites and find charities, foundations close to you if they exist, that can give you information. Certainly go to sameyou.org and there will be good information. We don't focus on children because clearly under 18s is a different market for us to be able to understand the right way to communicate. But I think it's all about information. And I think it's also patience. You've got to give your child confidence. Now, when somebody has aphasia and they can't speak, or they think that they are speaking clearly and they aren't speaking clearly, so you mustn't get worried. And you as a parent need to be very, very strong, strongest in front of your child. So when you see them in the hospital bed and you see them and your heart is broken and you really want to know what you can do, you have to really put on the confidence that you don't feel. Because your child, as we all know as parents, your child will respond to you and they look to you always for reassurance. So from the minute it happens, put on a brave face, reassure them and tell them that you're there to help them get back as quickly as possible.
Great advice. Great advice. Are you ready for your next question?
Okay.
What information do you want easily accessible to brain injury survivors?
Well, in a world that doesn't exist, I'd want them to be able to see what the pathway for care looks like. From immediately they leave an acute hospital ward, how they can get the rehab that they so urgently need. So I think it's about giving people the sense that it is a pathway and that the whole end-to-end pathway starts with therapeutically getting you physically back to as close to you as you can be, depending on the severity of your injury. And then it starts with, well, not then, it's all at the same time. At the same time, it's about trying to get you to understand and how the information you can get from mental health institutions, from charities, from your doctors, hopefully, how to really care for people and their mental health, how to listen, how to understand what they're going through and to give them patience, empathy, love, and the right sort of advice.
Okay. Jenny, are you ready for question number 3?
Oh, okay.
Why is Same You important?
Well, really, because we represent the voice of millions of people who have a problem that's either invisible or and certainly unnoticed. That's it.
Oh.
I could talk a lot more if you're not ready with the next question, but that's basically.
I am ready for the next question. Short and sweet. I love it. I'm just trying to prep the next question for you. You caught me off guard. Question number 4. What misconceptions do people have about brain injury survivors?
Well, the first one and the biggest one is that once you leave hospital and you have a set of issues, physical and mental, that you can't get better and you can't improve. And we have evidence of people, even years on from when they were discharged into the community. So that is the biggest misconception, that people should feel lucky they're alive and then get on with it. No, that is completely wrong. You've got to be aggressive, assertive, not violent or not physically aggressive, but in terms of your energy, put a lot of energy into finding out what you can do to help yourself. We also know that peer-to-peer support is vital. And just as Greg's already said, as soon as you're with another brain injury, you have this bond, you have a connection. And so use that connection. So I'd encourage you all to build communities around you and be brave enough to do that if you feel that you can't. But that is really, really important.
I love it. I love it. You used the word aphasia. Did Amelia have aphasia, and do people really understand what that is? Because a lot of times people hear that word, they don't even understand what that is. Do you want to talk about that a little bit, about aphasia and how it affects people with brain injuries?
Yeah, and it affects people very differently. And we've met and seen have got very, very serious aphasia, and it means that they're almost unable to speak. Other people have got intermittent aphasia, and that means that they can say some words, but they can't say others. And their thoughts are, in this particular problem, the thoughts are usually very, very clear. There is nothing wrong cognitively with them, but the connections with the speech and language areas have been damaged. So the idea that someone is saying something and you can't understand it, or is talking stuff that doesn't make any sense, that is a real indication that they have aphasia. And so there is treatments for aphasia in the acute situation. And once you've had it for a while, but it is a very, very serious situation, because obviously if we can't speak, we can't communicate, part of our lives are diminished. And yes, Amelia had it in hospital, but luckily they were able to do something about it.
Oh, thank goodness. I think I had that as well, because I was conceived with this AVM and I had all these type of issues. And there's been a lot of times in my history, my friends got tested. I would try to say certain words. I couldn't say it. I wonder why I couldn't say it. And it was very frustrating to me until I had my rupture. Then I realized, wow, this is probably the reason why I couldn't do certain things or say to certain things. And I thought something was wrong with me. So I'm very glad that you actually brought that up, because a lot of people would assume that something is wrong with them. They'll start getting this negative connotation about themselves. And is this, you need treatment because you have a brain injury, something happened within your brain, certain words cannot be said. You could sound like the most professional, the best orator in the entire world, but there's certain things that you just can't say. And it's just something that's happening with aphasia. But we're at the end of our show, Jenny, and at this particular time, I would like to thank you for coming on to the show and expressing about what you went through as a mother that had a child that had a aneurysm rupture. Well, she was an adult when this actually happened, but she's still your child.
She is.
And I thank you for coming on and expressing your story, telling us how you went through this stuff and how you guys created the Same You organization. I really appreciate everything that you're doing within this community and helping us out and being the spearhead to this actual cause, so people can understand exactly what this is and how to help us out. But I want you to close out this show to let everybody know who you are, how they can find you, and how they can help the Same You organization. So everybody else out here, I thank you so much. I'm going to leave Jenny with the show. It's all hers. Jenny, I'll talk to you later. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. So yes, please write to sameyou.org. Go to our website, info@. We have very strong social media run by Vero and Victoria. And so when you see us posting, please comment, please share, please like, and please, it would be wonderful if you could also donate. But I'm Jenny Clarke. I'm here, and my team is very, very small, so you're not going to have to go through a huge organization. If we don't get back to you quickly, just forgive us, because there is a huge demand and everybody works very hard, but we're not always an immediate responder. But we really hope that you've enjoyed this and that it's done some good. Thank you very much for listening.